Hello, everyone online. Hello. Okay, so maybe back to that idea of pure awareness or pure consciousness. You think about that. So I'm standing by the river and I just allow listening, put it that way. And I'm not focusing on any sound. And I'm emphasizing the knowing or the awareness rather than the quality of the sound. To me, that's the one way of talking about pure awareness. And then I use language which gives me a sense of awareness being boundless. So I might say that this whole experience is in awareness. So for me, that helps create a perception of consciousness as space, space as consciousness. And it's not so concrete, but again, the analogy that we get a lot from Luang and other teachers is the forms in this room are made possible by the space. If you didn't have the space, you couldn't have the forms. So, but this adds an element of consciousness to it. If you didn't have consciousness or knowing, whatever you want to call that, then this could not exist. Taste could not exist, sound could not exist, and so on. Conscious space, and that's a concept you can't really find that like you can find the wetness of water or the hardness of a chair. They're very, very concrete things. So you have to kind of intuit that. And the way I do that, I, I like to use sound a lot, as you know. So my balcony is over the river, and I just listen. And then I try to keep awareness unfurnished. So one teacher I like to read, he talks about unfurnished awareness. Furnished awareness would be the water sounds much louder today than yesterday. I wonder if it's going to flood. I hear it used to flood here. So the awareness now, even though I'm with the river, becomes furnished with thought. So I'm trying to sustain unfurnished awareness, if you see what I mean. And that means just listening. And again, when Lompa Sumedo opens his Dhamma talks with the doors to the deathless are open, it seems to me that's what it must be. Because when awareness is unfurnished, it still knows the way things are, but it's not going forward into the activity, into the sound, into whatever. It's staying as a kind of as a container. And it seems to me we try to sustain that for a long time and see what happens. Just see what happens. So Lopez Sameto's trust and awareness. The same teacher who talks about an unfurnished awareness, he talks about waiting, but waiting for nothing. There's different ways of playing around with our experience. So I'm walking back and forth, doing walking meditation, A to B, B to A to B, B to A, right? And then trying to establish this pure awareness. Again, it's not so difficult if I remember. So it's a remembering of awakening. So even though I might be thinking about next week or at some point, maybe when I reach the end of the path, I realize there is thinking. And that point is the point of opening the mind and sensing this pure knowing, pure consciousness. It's like this. And then walking back and forth, maybe I get better at it. and then an idea comes up, a really good idea. I only have good ideas. And the really good idea says, I'm going to do something next week. I only have good ideas, you know that. So the good idea comes up, and then I grab it and I think about that lovely thing I'm going to do next week. That's called rebirth, born again Buddhist. You don't want to be a born again Buddhist or not. So attention takes the idea and gets involved in the idea. Now, that's not wrong. We have to do that, in fact. We have to plan and so on. But we also want to learn how to relax attention away from this constant restlessness of involvement and begin to touch the silence and the peacefulness of the deep, deep consciousness or deep, deep background, which is possible. So if we're always picking up things and furnishing them, we're always caught, we're always reborn, we're always just furnishing this room until it has all this IKEA furniture in it. And we start to really hate this IKEA furniture because our minds just become very full. So we talk about non-grasping. We talk about emptying out. This is the kind of language we use. So I'm walking back and forth, and then the idea comes up, and I say, oh, this is an idea. This is an interesting idea. And the thing about an interesting idea is that it's interesting, obviously. And because it's interesting, I like it. So it has Vedana in it. It's pleasant. And because it's pleasant, I want to keep the pleasant going. All right? And so I pick up the pleasant idea and I think this pleasant, wonderful idea. But after 2 hours or whatever, it's like old kautom in my mind. It's just this old idea, which just, oh, will you shut up, please? And then I might try to get rid of that idea. And then I'll have another idea. I only have good ideas. And so on. It just goes on and on and on. And maybe I'll argue with myself that I shouldn't think. But all the time, I'm just in a network of objects. I never come to the pure awareness, the space, and the silence. So on a retreat, we're not trying to solve any problems. We're trying to put all that down. You'll have to deal with it when you get back to family life for sure. But for now, try not to solve all the problems of the world. Try not to figure anything out. If you get an inspiring idea, don't believe it. Just see, oh, this is an inspiring idea. It feels like this, and open the mind. Don't furnish it. Don't furnish awareness. Don't get attached. And so the way of Luang or letting go is the way of opening the mind rather than doing anything about it, fixing it or doing something. It's just kind of opening. Oh, it's like this. Open, open, open. Then hopefully what happens is things like worry or anticipation or excitement, you begin to see them more and more as the content, but you are the container. You are that which knows. You are the ocean rather than the waves in the ocean. Those are the images we have. You are the depth of silence rather than the surf hitting the shore all the time. You get that in all traditions, that kind of language. But to touch that, it cannot be through desire, because desire is always about objects. To get, like, it would seem very logical to kind of think, well, I want to get peace. Yeah, it would be nice, no, I think. But if I want to get peace by getting rid of noise, it'll never work. So the way of letting go or the way of cessation is the way of knowing objects arising, staying for a while, and then ceasing, arising, ceasing. And the witness knows the movement. Hence, we emphasize anicca sanya, that this has arisen, it will change. We use that kind of language. So the language of liberation is very much about paticca samuppada or idappaccayata. With this, there is that. And that's intuitive. You see that like, let's say, peace is actually very boring to the craving mind. And so sometimes on a retreat, people will feel bored or lonely or lacking in confidence. So these things might come up into the mind, and then normally we do something about them. So if you feel lonely, you phone a friend, which is good, or you go have dinner with them, fine. But now, what happens if I just let loneliness come up? It comes up, it has a habit to come up, and I just witness it. I don't follow the usual way of avoiding the loneliness. What happens? Well, I feel lonely, and that's unpleasant. The Vedana is Dukkha Vedana. It's not Sukha Vedana. And I want Sukha, I don't want Dukkha. But if I now do something to get rid of it by seeking a friendship or whatever, I never release it from consciousness. It's like a prisoner. So in meditation, quite often the prisoners come up into consciousness. They want to get released. They want to be free. It's a way of talking. And we push them back down by not recognizing it. So the way of awareness allows anything can come up. We have sila, we have kalyana mitta, we have friendship. We're not going to hurt each other. So for me, again, I'd be doing walking meditation, and I feel sometimes those early years, like strong resentments, really angry at a monk because maybe he said something to me, no good reason, but all kinds of material started to come up, which I hadn't resolved. It's coming up into consciousness. And then Lopa would say, like, what's wrong with anger? Huh? What's wrong with it? It's just anger. It's just a sankhan. Oh, really? Do you mean I don't have to be nice? No, you have to be nice, yeah. But anger's okay. What do you mean? Well, anger is an object, but you don't have to live it. You don't have to act on it. So the more you have confidence in awareness, if material comes up, which is troubling in some way, don't be afraid of it. Welcome it. It's not who you are. You are not the loneliness. You're not that. And then the mind, when it releases some of the stuff, it has a great sense of freedom, because that underlying angst that we can have as human beings, it's liberated. It's gone. So the peace that we're talking about is not, it comes about through what we call purification, as I was talking about the anusaya coming up into consciousness. So as you get better at this, you notice more and more the ceasing of a plan and the ceasing of a sense of self, me doing this or that. It constantly ends, and you say, "Oh, there's that. There's the open pure awareness, and you keep coming back to that again and again and again and again and again." And so we say training. I like to think of it as craft. I like craft. I like working with my hands, so I like those analogies. And in craft, you usually, like if I'm teaching someone woodwork, I start with something very simple, a simple, a simple exercise. And the same with understanding pure awareness. I try to use a very simple exercise like sound, and just listen to sound. It sounds very simple, and then I can listen, unfurnished, receptive, quiet, and then I sustain that for 7 days. That would be satipatthana. Sustain it for 7 days, and you'll probably see something. Why is it hard to sustain? Habit. That's all. So we train in little ways. But if I can, going back to the idea of a simple and complex and training of craft, if I can understand this exercise of just simplicity of listening, and I do that a lot, on the simplicity of seeing. So I just look at this marble with a granite floor, and I just look. And in the looking, I make no comment. It is what it is. There's the same silence, a different object. Maybe I do it like with my breath. So then I take the breath, breathing in, breathing out. This is in awareness. It's the same silence. It's the same space. So those exercises then cultivate an intuition within me, which then can deal with fear and anxiety and anger, all the more complex things that we get caught up with. Obviously, they're much more difficult to deal with, but it's the same exercise. So what is the pure awareness of feeling betrayed? What is the pure awareness of feeling cheated? What is the pure awareness of those are all the negative things, and there's all the positive things too. It's the same. There's much more hard because there's more craving, there's more desire, there's all that complexity. So on a retreat, and this is the beauty of a retreat that we're given this opportunity. It's just an amazing opportunity. And we're kind to each other. We trust each other. This is amazing. And we all have nice outfits, except me. And we all look nice and so on and so forth. But we're in an environment where we can experience anything, really. Whatever comes up is okay. We just have to attend. And so that is where I keep coming back to the idea of metta bhavana. Metta is an acceptance and an opening to the way things are. And as I said this morning, I use this crazy mantra. I say to myself, I love you. I've always loved you. I was always love you. And this is quite effective for me. Not that I'm a narcissist. I hope I'm not. But that my tendency is towards vibhava tanha. So if there are thought patterns that are coming up as a habit, I try to get rid of them. I mean, I understand it quite well now, but earlier it was quite difficult. So then anything which replaces the tendency to try to get rid of, I find very helpful. So if whatever comes, I just find it a nice thing to say to myself. I love you. I've always loved you. I was always loved you. And I found that that mantra takes me to here. And that is a really restful place for me. Really nice abiding. I can abide there for long periods of time. So pure awareness, unfurnished with commentary. That's not so hard. It's not so difficult. Sustaining it is difficult. So in the walking meditation, just keep that as the project. People ask, what am I supposed to be doing in walking meditation? And it's not like concentrating so you don't think. That is a fallacy. I mean, I suffered from that. Most people suffer that. They think that walking meditation is about controlling your mind so you don't think, which is, it doesn't work. And it's super frustrating if you perceive walking meditation. But if walking meditation is the containment within a path and the skill of awakening to pure awareness and pure knowing, even 10 times in 45 minutes, that's a good practice. Even just at the end of the path, that's a good practice. So you're awakening, and then you get kidnapped. Fine, awaken. And that's what you want. That's the momentum of the training. It's the awakened mind knowing the way things are within all experience. So let's do some anapanasati. And again, I won't belabor you with too much instruction, but just to try to get that idea of knowing the breath in awareness. See if that gels for you. So if we start with listening, again, these attitudes that are helpful: receptive knowing, receptive listening. Let the sounds come to you. Clarity of presence. You know that you know. Non-becoming. You're not trying to find anything. non-resistance, you're accepting everything. Pure awareness then, unfurnished with commentary, just listening. So this is natural, kamacha. So you could just sustain that for as long as you want. Or we could go to the body. So come to the head. Feel the sensations throughout the head. Let them become conscious. So it's still receptive awareness. And all kinds of feelings begin to manifest in the head. Waiting for nothing. So the sensations in the head are in awareness. Then move to whole body awareness. The whole body sitting here. Changing sensations in awareness. Listen to sound. Feel the body. Changing objective experiences in awareness. Make conscious the breathing of the body. Sustain that same open, receptive awareness. So breathing is taking place in awareness. Pure awareness knows changing nature breath. So it's not a matter of controlling or the breath. Mind is open. Attention is localized. Breath moves. The other senses are operating. You can hear sound in awareness. So just be with the breathing. It's like you're just hanging out with a good friend. One in breath, one out breath. It's a kind of really friendly relationship to the breath. Like you're enjoying a friendship. So the attitude on the in-breath is a welcoming. Out-breath is letting go. Pure awareness. And notice when you become preoccupied with thought, how your mind becomes quite narrow. It's not open. It's narrowly contained or consumed by some idea. So then you want to open the mind in awareness, openness, welcoming, and begin again.